I've said it once. I will say it again. Seasonal candy is the worst. There's a reason it's only seasonal.
Welcome to Behind the Sins, presented by CinemaSins.
Welcome to Behind the Sins, a weekly look at everything going on inside the world of CinemaSins. I'm Aaron Dicer, and I'm joined as always by Jonathan Watkins.
Hello, hello.
And Danae Hughes.
It's a map.
We write for CinemaSins and TV Sins and do various other things inside the CinemaSins universe as well.
I'm the map. Sorry.
We're going full Dora Explorer.
I don't even know that reference. It's just something that you do, Aaron.
It is something I do often. That's a Dora the Explorer reference.
Yeah, and it's like swiper, stop,
yeah.
Swiper, no swiping.
Swiper, no swipey. Yeah. Sometimes when my kids were younger, I'd be like, wiper, no wipey. And they'd have to go back to the bathroom to finish up.
My daughter's not competing in cheer this year, but she's taking just some flyer classes and flexibility classes and stuff. And the gym that she works at, that she goes to classes at, their teams are named after, their competitive teams are named after villain. And they have, not at this location, but at one of the locations, because they're a chain, they have a team called Swiper.
Oh, there you go. Swiper the Fox.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's a Dora. You just did a Dora reference without even knowing it, Danae. There you go.
I think you've even put Dora outtakes in. Although I know you just kind of find outtakes, you don't always know.
Me?
I think you did that one time.
I have no idea.
I've definitely done seveal Dora outtakes, but yeah.
Well, maybe it was Aaron, then maybe I'm misrepresenting. My favorite with Danae was still this thing from Chucky. How did you even find this?
I have a couple of those coming up. There's actually one that I'm going to be doing where I'm trying to put it into a script right now where it's a phone conversation where in the show that we're sinning, there's a phone situation, and then I wanted to interpose another, from a famous phone conversation from a movie. I have no reference to what that means. And so I spent 30 minutes just trying to find clips of various people on phones in movies. And then I found the perfect one, but I don't even know what it's from.
That's so great.
I don't know the reference. So
it is.
I kind of feel bad, but at the same time, it's that's kind of part of my job is just to go find something silly. So
and the silliness is great. I just received a message from somebody the other day that's I know a lot's going on in the world, but thank you for just laughing with us. We enjoy just laughing with you. And honestly, we do this sometimes. And Jonathan, we were just talking about this before the show started, where so much is going on in the world, and it's is there a place for laughter today? It almost feels like that sometimes, but you continue to encourage us that you like to tune in and just laugh with us and have a good time and listen to the silliness and the stupidness and the outtakes. And we know there's fire, crazy fires going on in California right now. Of course, COVID is still doing its thing. We've got, racial unrest. We've got an election that's coming up in 2 months.
And that's just in the U.S.
In a divided country. And that's just in the United States of America. There are people who listen all over the world to this that have their own stuff going on. And we've each got our own stuff that's not world news that goes on in our life. And we just want you to know that we know that. We feel for you. We think about you. And we are glad to be able to offer, I guess, a little bit of an escape, a little bit of fun. And thank you for encouraging us in that, because it does. It gets a little... Sometimes you just wonder, is today a day for laughter? And it's just I guess we need to keep laughing too, and so we'll keep being silly as much as we can.
Absolutely,
crass and silly.
Yes,
but also making valid points about what's wrong with what we're watching.
We call that silcrass.
Procrastination.
Something like that. All right, let's move into the SinSide Scoop. Get the silliness started.
What's he building in there?
I've got a secret.
Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain.
This is a true story.
We're going to take a look at the videos from the week, the process of sending them, how we felt about the stuff we're sending in general. We are on a Phineas and Ferb kick. Oh, dear.
Sorry.
What was that response?
think it was just a need to release a little bit of Ferb frustration from one of the writers. That would be me.
What is your frustration? You didn't even write on this one, by the way. We're doing Rollercoaster the musical this week, which was Jonathan and I. That's a Dicer Watkins script.
It was also only 22 minutes.
I think it was.
Thanks for rubbing it in.
44, wasn't it? No, was it 22?
Yeah, no, this was a normal.
Oh, nice.
Episode.
Well, technically, a normal episode would be 11 minutes. But it was
First of all,
anyways.
Phineas and Ferb? Oh, I didn't know they did those.
I shadowed this one, so I did have to consume this as well.
You did consume this. That is true.
I didn't have to write on it, but I did have to be aware of what was going on. And I don't know, I'm over Phineas and Ferb.
Okay.
I'm over it.
Hey, fair enough. Fair enough. I am most certainly not over it. I love this episode specifically is meta in a way that just tickles my brain. I really like meta stuff. And so I like when, like, I think there's a sin in one of them that we've either already done or maybe even this one about, Phineas and Ferb becoming the Deadpool of Disney animation. And it really is that. And I do understand because Deadpool does get tiring to me as well. So I do understand how that fourth wall breaking, meta kind of stuff can get tiring. But for whatever reason, I really dig it here. So I like this episode.
I was glad I didn't have to write on it because when I was watching it, I'm like, we've already done this episode, but now it's with music. Mm-hmm. And I was so annoyed by this. For whatever reason, this episode is the most annoying thing I've watched from Phineas and Ferb so far.
Yeah.
I haven't put my finger on why, but I was just relieved that this wasn't one that I had to write on because sometimes as a shadow, you try to throw in a couple of sins or something, like here's something that I saw and you just kind of give a couple of options to the lead writer and just some things to consider. This one was just like, nope, just going to watch this one.
You guys got this one.
You guys got it.
Hey,
Congratulations.
you were in here though, because you wrote one of the original sins in the original one that we repeated in this one, but it said instead of staple, we said screws. So
yes. Yeah, that was kind of fun. There was actually a sin, I guess we'll talk about it more specifically, but there was a sin that was relating to a callback, which I just think that's really fun to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
I liked it, but I didn't know this was I haven't watched this whole series, so I didn't think about the fact that this was just a musical version of the pilot. And but I did the first time through when I was just watching it, I was getting a lot of deja vu because of course I'd seen the video and everything, and I was very and then there was that moment where he's like, have we done this before? And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And so like I went back and did a little research, and I'm like, okay, now this makes more sense why he said we're going to do the same thing except sing. Like, all that just I didn't, at the time I just wasn't thinking about it.
Yeah,
because we're also for various reasons, I guess, with trying to get ahead, all that kind of stuff with the holidays coming up, we are writing a lot right now, so some of this stuff kind of runs together anyways. And then when you're doing a run, like Aaron just said, I was like, I don't think we did the Deadpool one on this one, but if we did, yeah, sure. I guess maybe it happened. I don't think it was this one, but
I think it was the last one, maybe. Yeah, no, it continues to be.
It was in Summer Belongs to You.
Yeah, which I think was the last one. Let's get into the video. Let's talk about the video. Danae, you get the privilege of starting since Jonathan and I wrote on it.
Yeah, this video you loved so much, apparently.
I thought you guys did a really great job. There was a couple of them that I really enjoyed. The callback one that I was talking about, though, I'll start with, was the arms button. And it's like, I can't wait to see all the other body parts. Wait, sorry, I think we did this one last time. Let me make it completely fresh this episode. And then you sing all the other body parts and test them on ordinary people like Timothy Hutton, the hair button, shoulder button, button for the knee, the nose button, tongue button, and one for your belly. And then you're like, am I musicaling correctly? I just thought that was really fun. And I like that the audience gets to continue to see a performance side of your personality, Aaron, because that's something that's just really fun.
No, I didn't go back and rewatch the first one though. Did all that rhyme originally?
No, in the original, the total sin was just
can't wait to see the other buttons.
Can't wait to see the other body part buttons.
Oh, you just added all that. Okay,
so we basically did exactly what the episode did, which was do the same thing but make it musical. Yeah, no, I'm a little bit proud of the writing on that one. The idea of like ordinary people like Timothy Hutton as a call to the movie Ordinary People that Timothy Hutton is in, and then the rhyming knee with belly, and then belly being a button, belly button. I like that kind of stuff.
Oh my god, that Ordinary People thing, that's really weird. I guess we can talk about that in a few weeks, but I sometimes will put like, just in case you didn't know, this is do you know what I'm talking about on the script you're probably combining now?
Yes.
I actually referenced that in a way.
Ordinary
I didn't even think
people.
about that.
Yeah.
We did it on here too. Yeah, that's funny.
It's funny how those things happen. But yeah, no, I like that one too.
Face balloons? Like, no. Let me make sure. Face balloons. Just really just hitting that home was fun. When they're in the dumpster, and it says here, Candace insinuates that she would like to see her brothers compacted in a garbage truck. And the show is a lot darker than you remember. It's just a fun little, like, she's wanting to kill him.
Yes.
The turd to unicorn roster says, listen, can we give props to the narrator for pronouncing that word?
He wrote it. I hope he knew how to pronounce it.
That's right. There's actually a moment in the narration file where you hear me giving it a couple shots and then like, why do I do this to myself? It's like, because I wrote this one. I think even in the narration file, I say something like, this is one I wrote. Well, you got to do that.
Why did I do that? But I really loved pointing out just right at the very beginning, the mummy being too tall for the sarcophagus, the sarcophagus.
That probably wasn't easy to say either. You wrote that as well.
Sarcophagus. Yeah, that one's is a little bit easier, but yeah.
The like whole quit squishing tall people. You know, we're already in pain.
It's
we're
true.
Already tall.
Came from a real place.
So yeah, it came from a place. So those are
that
the
would have
ones
been weird
that
if I had written that one because I'm not.
Yeah, for real.
I would have fit in that just fine. I would have had room.
I will mention, since you brought up the whatever Tortuna Cornorosaurus or whatever it is, that somebody pointed out pretty well that you probably should go with elephant there rather than rhinoceros because either the horn is a unicorn or a rhinoceros. It's probably not both. So I thought that was an interesting observation by somebody in the comments. So yeah.
Wow.
So we said the wrong animal. Sorry.
Yes, it should have been the Tortuna Cornifant.
Now we're
according
gonna
to them,
elephant people are going to come after us. Be like,
that's right.
How dare you?
I'll mention a few. So at the very least, Phineas should be carrying a bag of snakes. Really made me laugh. Just the observation that he should already have the snakes with him. The callback that I was talking about was hanging your poster with a single screw, because in the first one we did hanging your poster with a single staple, I think, or something like that. But now he's got a screwdriver to put it in. The bird doesn't get a song? Lame.
That cracked me up. That one was so funny. I cannot believe I didn't write that one down because that one actually made me laugh out loud.
What about you, Jonathan?
I Demand Melting Faces was good. And then I just liked being annoying about the Frankenstein monsters. I love doing that.
Yeah.
Pretty sure you mean Frankenstein's monster's brain.
Yep.
And Unholstered Finger Guns was another one that I quite enjoyed.
Listen, you got to keep those in the holster.
That's funny.
The only other thing I wanted to mention was the beautiful reaction of the comments to the now edit your comment to say, TV Sins, I will never doubt you again. If you scroll through the comments on this video, it is like every other comment.
Everywhere.
And it's so great.
That was really exciting because sometimes we wonder, should we prompt people to do this? Like, should we prompt people to leave a comment? Because of course we'd be accused of like trying to work the system and increase comments so that we could change some algorithm and have our videos seen more. That's going to be something that could pop up. Or are we going to invite more criticism? But for me, comments is just it's a fun space for fans to just like converse. And we can be kind of the gatekeepers of that and invite fun in the comments. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no,
So-
it's been kind of cool. I particularly love that run, and it's one of those things where I just didn't want to lose a sin. And I had already done the face balloon sin, and being completely honest, totally forgot about Balloony. I've watched this show, but I had totally forgotten. And then got down to the Meep sin, and I was like, oh yeah, Meep. That was the episode where Doofenshmirtz, talks about his childhood friend Balloony, and that's where Balloony is in. And so I remembered it, and I was like, oh man, fans are gonna like completely be commenting that the face balloon thing was Balloony, and I should have known that. And so instead of deleting that sin, I tried to figure out a way to turn it to our advantage, and I loved that it worked. So yeah, that was absolutely a fun one. All right, move on to The Mandalorian. It is The Child, the second episode in the Mandalorian first season, with the second season coming up soon. This was a Hughes Watkins script, Danae and Jonathan writing on this one. And what did you guys think? What are you thinking about? Danae, have you watched this whole first season, or is this just your second episode?
So I watched, I think, 3 episodes. And then I decided to stop. I think I remember telling you guys about it, that I liked where the story was at the 3rd episode.
Oh, that's right.
Like,
Yeah.
This is okay. I think I'll just stop here.
And actually, it's pretty interesting though. I watched it when it came out. This was the first time I'd watched this episode since.
Yeah, I hadn't rewatched this episode, so I was familiar with what was going to be happening in this episode. But I continue to, as Jonathan loves to point out, I continue to wonder why he and I are the Star Wars writers. Because I'm always afraid of missing something that like a super fan would. And so I do try to do the thing where I like get back into Star Wars mind and maybe do like a little bit of research, but I'm still going to miss things. So I was very, very intimidated. And then I was really thrilled that we were able to find some fun stuff. And when I find something I have a question about, I just do research on it. And then that can lead to a sin instead of worrying that I need to have all of the knowledge of Star Wars at my fingertips before being a successful, sin writer.
No, it's fun to write on because there's so much out there, but I do get this is the franchise that makes me the most, I guess, if I get nervous at all, this one definitely makes me nervous. DC is getting up there, but I know quite a bit about DC.
Wait,
so
are you talking about difficulty class?
No, like nervous just because I know fans like to just, come at you. And
no, he's talking about Detective Comics.
She was making I missed something.
That's a Dungeons and Dragons reference. I was like, yeah, the DC is high because in the game,
DC
like,
Comics.
let's say that you want to go like open up a door and then the DC to open the door is 20. That means you have to work. I'm like, yeah, the DC class for this is really high.
The DCEU, let's say that.
I genuinely was like, that's a really good comparison. Sorry.
That would be a good comparison. If I had to do a Dungeons and Dragons something, if we were doing the old Dungeons, was there Dungeons and Dragons? There was a Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, there
TV
was.
Show. It was a cartoon. I remember that.
Yeah, I haven't ever watched it anyway.
But this was fun.
It's fun. It was a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed watching it. But I take, like Jonathan said, I take these ones so much more seriously than I do, like, I don't know, like a SpongeBob. SpongeBob is just like, let's have some fun, da-da-da-da-da. But then you're like doing Mandalorian, you're like, oh man, I gotta bring my A game.
Right.
Because it's such I don't know, this seems like such an important show. Maybe like Game of Thrones in a way as well. But I don't know, this seems even more important than Game of Thrones. And I have to say, I was really, really excited with our script. I was really proud of this one with Jonathan. I thought
this seems to be the first
fun.
Star Wars thing that seems to be universally liked, I would say, since like the original trilogy.
Right. It's respected in a way.
I feel like there's not a lot of. I'm sure there's people that dislike it. I mean, there's people that dislike everything. But
just wait for season 2. It's coming.
Yeah.
People are gonna turn.
Well, and then that's already getting some people like, we're not gonna watch.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. My thoughts on Mandalorian haven't really changed all that much. I think it's a fun time. I don't think it's the be all and end all of Star Wars. I think it lives in the universe in a way that few properties aside from the Skywalker saga have. Like it actually finds its own kind of place in the universe in a fun way. I guess some of the animated shows have done that fairly well too, but it for me in a live action version, I've really enjoyed it. So I'm excited.
I'm surprised this is the first live action show they've ever done. I don't know if it was just Lucas really wanted to make it a theatrical thing other than the cartoons, but like this feels like you could do like Star Trek, right? I mean, you could, there's so many stories you could tell and so many different time periods you could go to.
Yeah.
I think anytime a person or a writer or a creator can put together a universe that's like Star Wars, that has different planets and, like political systems and factions, and tie it together with this interesting story of the Force. Yeah, you can kind of find a way into that universe, whether it's books or movies, or in this case, a seasonal, like released sort of quote unquote television style. But Mandalorian, it was fun to return to it and go back into the Western.
Yeah, and boy, this episode is sure the guy traveling the lone Prairie kind of episode. There's
Oh, yeah.
very little dialogue, lots of walking, that kind of stuff. So
It's really well done, though. It's really effective.
Oh,
I
sure,
think.
sure. It's just
remember
different
watching
to
it.
Sin.
Yeah, I was watching
Yeah,
it when I watched it as a person just enjoying the content that I was watching, not sinning it. I was like, this is really beautiful. Like, and obviously Western, there's several shots of obviously the Mandalorian walking with this floating pod beside him and the sun setting and, just this interesting landscape. And this episode genuinely sits in the quiet really confidently. And I think that's a really brave thing for a show to be able to do, where there's so little dialogue. There's some action going on. There's a lot of walking. It's living in this world. Like a perfect example, in my opinion, is towards when the Mandalorian is in his ship. He looks to the left. It turns on. The engine turns on. He looks to the right. The engine turns on. It's just this slow thing. And then they do it again later. Like when he's checking to see if, I guess the first time the engines don't turn on, the second time the engines do turn on. But they do the same shot twice. A slow glance to the left, a slow glance to the right. It turns on or it doesn't. Like, it's just like, wow, they are really letting this moment be long.
And it's only a 30-minute show, too. I mean, it's not even like it's that long.
Right.
And it has its own mood. And the mood is like, he's going to go at his own pace. He's not worried. He's determined. He's focused. He's a little bit dumb going at that Jawa ship like he did, but whatever.
The before we get into the video, the only other thing I would mention is you mentioned the 30-minute runtime. It's very interesting to me that this show lands right around 30 minutes because usually we see shows like this that like to live in their moments or maybe are more dramatic than they are comedy. This isn't a sitcom. We usually see them go out to at least the 40-minute mark, hour mark, somewhere in that range per episode. And I think this may be it may portend a future for drama, like shorter dramas. Like we're already seeing shorter comedies.
Servant.
Yeah.
Well, and Servant was like this too. That's what I'm saying. This and Servant made me think that like, oh my God, can we please have more of these?
Yeah. I love the short run times for TV. I think it's very short attention span, bite size. I love that stuff.
And it's a full 30 minutes. Like there's no commercials or anything. So, I mean, you're actually getting like 30. So you can definitely get a lot of story told in that amount of time.
Yeah.
But surprisingly, it did not feel like 30 minutes. It felt longer. But in a good way, you know, where it's like I think because the pacing of this episode was a slower pace, it felt like a longer show, but not too long. Like it still hit those notes. I was paying attention going, wow, they're really just sitting in this moment. But it wasn't, it was just on that verge of too long sitting in a moment. Just like enough to where it's like, this is art. This is purposeful.
You know what we should do is we should invent a mobile app of content that's only like 8 minutes or less and like quick bites of content or something like that. Quick bite. Yeah, I can't come up with a name, but there's something there. I know it's going to be a huge success. Everybody's going to love it. So
before we go talk about the video, though, I do want to mention the Western aspect. I really like that about this show because I like old Westerns and stuff. I was kind of surprised, though, they haven't gotten sued yet because, there was that movie from 1957, 3:10 to Yoda. That seems...
How did you not have that in the script?
I don't know. I just thought of it.
It's so smart.
That's good.
Hey, file that one away, and then if we do another episode, you'll have it.
That's right.
At the ready.
That's right. Got to write that stuff down.
Yeah.
All right. Heading into
So Aaron, what'd you think? Because you didn't write on it. So what'd you think?
That is correct. I loved it. I will name a few of the sins that stood out to me. How are we supposed to believe any of this is real when faux Yoda doesn't have a chunk of enemy mine lizard running down his face? Made me giggle. There is something we mentioned the face melting before. This narrator is developing a love for violence that I find interesting, and I think the reason I find it interesting is because it is so contradictory to what I believe the narrator's voice is becoming, which is almost like TV sitcom dad voice, which is, like dad jokes and like there's this pleasantness to the narrator's voice where it feel like he's like the instructive, TV dad. Somebody in the Discord, I think, was commenting about how the narrator on TV Sins, the thing they like is that it sounds sometimes like the exhausted parent that's like, come on, kids, that kind of thing.
Guys. Get in the van.
Yeah, exactly. So there's almost this parental nature to the TV Sins narrator that contradicts really nicely with this, like, melt the kids' faces off. There were even some comments about that. So
I always think of this narrator as someone that would ride a bike angry on a bike trail and like yell at people
and then regret it.
Yeah, exactly.
And then there's regret, shortly after. That's what I always envision when I'm writing the script.
So I also enjoyed expecting a child to stay put. Thank you for that.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Mow when you can see. That whole rant was great.
I love when we add names too, because it was Mo when you can see Daryl.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's actually based on a true story. I have had 2 neighbors now that mow at night, and it really drives my husband crazy, and it's confusing to me.
Yeah.
I don't understand it personally.
It's a good way to wreck your mower too, because I don't know. I don't understand it.
Stuff?
Wreck your mower and your relationships with your neighbors all in one movement.
Yeah, I think that's what Justin stands firm on. Like he's like he's good. Like I'm just picturing like he's fine with like these crazy things, but then he's like, cannot mow at night.
That's right.
I will come out there with my muscle shirt on, and I will.
We actually went on a evening walk just as it was turning dark. We're in this new neighborhood, and we hear a lawnmower, and we both kind of look at each other like, "Oh no, somebody is mowing." And as we're walking by one of our neighbors, it's this kid. He's probably, he's got to be a teenager, and he's out there with a push mower with one hand, and in the other, he's literally got his smartphone with a flashlight.
It's insane.
On. I was like, "What are you doing?"
It's insane.
Oh my god!
At least the other guy had a riding lawnmower with a headlight lamp.
That was a kid that did not mow the yard earlier in the day, and the dad was so pissed. He's like, "I don't care. You're doing it now. Figure it out." I'm telling you, that's 100% what that was.
You're probably right. I also liked, now you get out your poof poof gun. That I thought that was worded really fun. The floor was so disgusting that it turned brown, and I was essentially sleeping on 50 years of dead skin cells and life spills. Cells and life spills. Oh, that is just amazing.
Felt so bad for little Danae.
How did you enjoy as a narrator reading that?
It was great.
Like, okay.
Yeah, no, that's...
I kind of, because there's several kind of more story-minded sins in this one. This had 2 or 3 that were sort of those longer sins that last for a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what's funny, because you only see that like ball for like a split second, but because we had to do this long sin, you're just like looking at that ball for like a minute and a half, and it's just like, God.
And then it's followed by your Cadbury egg, which cracked me up.
Yeah.
Cadbury eggs are the worst.
They're the worst. And then I learned as we were combining the script that Jonathan and I both hate Cadbury eggs, which is great.
What is that substance? Like, I don't even know what that is in them, but it just... Like...
It's so gross.
I've said it once. I will say it again. Seasonal candy is the worst. There's a reason it's only seasonal. There's a reason Peeps are disgusting and only come out once a year, or used to, until people got crazy.
Hey, Aaron, I was listening to a morning show recently on the radio, and they were talking about Peeps.
Yeah.
And people had written in, and they said that there's a section of Peep lovers like this. So there's the Peep lovers, and then there's a portion of the Peep lovers who will buy Peeps.
The peeposexuals.
They will purposefully pierce the cellophane so that the air can get in and start to dry them out.
Harden them, yeah.
And they wait until they're hard to
they want their
so
peeps
now that
nice
you said
and hard.
peeposexual, it's like now it's just that changed everything about what I was going to say.
I also hate, speaking of seasonal sodas too are the worst. Like when they add like cinnamon to Pepsi or something, you're just like,
or like pumpkin spice or whatever.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I don't
go away.
I don't get it, man. I've yet to see. The only thing is maybe like the Reese's egg, but that's just a Reese's cup in a different shape. You know what I mean?
That's
like
all they're doing.
It's different.
Yeah, or like they do the Reese's pumpkins. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, that's fine. Do that all you want.
Or M&Ms are Christmas are green and red only. Like that. I get that, but like the candies that are like, hey, it's Halloween, so here's that orange thing that maybe is some sort of molasses. I don't know, but
you're talking about the orange wrapped candy?
Yes, it's just like what is this stuff?
What is it?
What is it? That is the house you avoid that hands out that shit. There's the black one too.
Anyhow, what about you guys, Jonathan? What did you want to bring out from this video?
I like the noticing that the bullets were evaporating the Jawas, but not the cloaks.
Yeah, asking
I
for a
thought that
friend.
was really, and then yeah, and then the gaping sphincter. That was funny because, and like I think it's like 2 scripts in a row that Barrett shattered on. He's just written a note like, "Good God," and they were both Danae-sins, by the way. The second one I don't think's come out yet, but it hasn't. We reviewed it this week.
I was uncomfortable reading that sin.
Okay, I was uncomfortable writing it, but I was having a good time because I was like, this feels like a sin that, like the guys would write or whatever. And that whole cave entrance, it genuinely looked like a big old butthole, right?
Yeah.
And he stood at the entrance for, again, this show is super comfortable just sitting in a moment for a while. It doesn't just go in there. They actually show him just standing there. And then there's another angle of him sitting there. I was like, okay, so he's really contemplating like entering this cave. And then I'm like, oh, I got it. And so then Jonathan on comments, he's like, wow. Like I think he said, wow, Danae. And then I'm like, is it too much? And he said, no. And then
maybe a bit, maybe just a bit too much. Maybe dial it back like a fraction, just a fraction for the narrator, just for my comfort
comes
level.
Barrett does the same thing, and I'm like, okay, but they're not cutting it, so
no, we're definitely leaving it. Well, what's interesting is I thought about it. The reason it was definitely like sphincter-esque.
It was incredibly sphincter. Like it was all puckered and everything.
Yeah, that's true. But what it made me think of was I had a similar thought though, because there was this magazine in like the 90s called Sci-Fi Universe that I used to read, and they had kind of an infamous issue at the time. It was like the 50 Reasons We Hate Return of the Jedi. And I just remember one of the reasons was the Sarlacc pit looks like a vagina. That was like and so when I saw that cave, I immediately thought about that. So it was so funny, but I wasn't going to write. I was so funny you wrote a sin about it. So I was like, that's why I was like, we have to keep it because we both had a thought. So if you both have a think, you got to keep it.
Listen, we're the Body Positive podcast. That would not be on a list of reasons to hate anything because it looks like a vagina.
No.
Vaginas are beautiful.
This was a magazine article, not something that I approve of.
Oh my God. What a hilarious conversation. Anything else there, Jonathan?
No, I'm gonna cut out the Danae saying it was puckered and everything. And use that as the intro.
I just like the whole observation that I couldn't like come up with something, but Danae wrote something where they fixed a spaceship like overnight.
Just so dumb.
And it's like the little can-do attitude.
That's right.
And he had just been like brutally like hit by this massive rhino, this rage rhino, right? And so he's got to have broken bones. And here he's just like, but you know what? We're just going to go ahead and repair the ship overnight that the Jawas had destroyed.
Yeah. And then you got like the 175-year-old Nick Nolte alien. I mean, like, there's no way.
Danae, what about you?
I really loved being able to send the whole cease and desist situation with Disney. And here's why. Because we actually have an artist that is a huge super fan of CinemaSins, Mr. Collect It. He's done, art for the Sin week before. He's done art for me. He's done art for a lot of us. I think, Aaron, he's actually done several commission pieces for you.
I continue to commission him monthly, yeah.
And the interesting thing about this situation was when this show came out and when the child really like went up in infamy, there was this vacuum where nobody had merch because Disney, I guess I can kind of tell you more about that in the Keeping Tabs. But anyhow, I loved being able to send what they did to the artists. And I felt like I was channeling what Mr. Collect It was feeling. Like I was channeling this moment when they came after all of these artists.
Well, and as someone who has been to Disney and has seen the merch they eventually created, they should have hired a lot of these artists. Because those stuffed animals were some of the
cute. But you can still find, but...
Yeah, but the ones that Disney actually did are... I mean, they're fine, but they're just really cheap looking, and I don't know. It is what it is. But Disney might own us one day, so I'll shut up.
You got to be careful. I really like the pie chart. That was a fun...
Yeah, that was good.
That was a fun thing that I tossed to the editors, like, can we do a pie chart? And then to see it kind of come out, I thought that was just a really exciting visual of, like, I think I wrote, it would be hilarious if it could create a pie chart and the stats were shown as they were spoken, and I think they just nailed that. It was super, super fun. The series of like the not using the perfect opportunity to strike cliche, followed by the single strike insta kill cliche, followed by the I'm not saying that one stab from that small blade could kill it, but I'm also saying that that couldn't kill it. That part really bothered me. Unless it's I actually had a whole sin that I wrote that I think I cut before even sending it in, where maybe the Force somehow, what Baby Yoda was doing, moved, and yes, I know it's not Baby Yoda, moved the creature's heart to its shoulder so that when he was stabbed, it would instantly kill it. You know, like what happened that would force?
I mean,
did the child, like when he was doing the Force and holding this thing up in the air, was it also compressing its internal organs to kill it? Because how did one tiny little knife in a shoulder of a massive creature instantly kill it?
Yeah.
Well, then you also kind of feel bad for the creature, right? Because you're just like that dude was just sleeping in his cave, his sphincter cave. You know, having a
I'm
good.
assuming it's a mama because it was guarding the baby.
I'm sure it's warm in the sphincter, and he was just
in his little pea cave. But I genuinely, most of my notes of things I loved in the writing process are about the outtakes. We talked about a lot of stuff. I got to insert another Critical Role outtake.
Yeah.
When the beast gets mad and like crashes its head down on the ground, it's Ashley Johnson saying, "I would like to rage," and then the other players are cheering. And that's I believe, if I pulled the right audio, that was the first time her character had said that as they were playing, and so that's why the reaction was so fun from their other people. So that was really exciting. So the like, "Why can't I kill you" from Batman, I thought worked really, really well. Peter Pan, good. You can fly, you can fly, you can fly was really fun. And then have fun storming the castle. Those were just fun to, So I just really ended up, despite my fear, had a really fun time writing on this one.
Nice. That's always good. Let's move on to music video sins. Jojo
Siwa.
Jojo Siwo. So no, Jojo Siwa. DREAM, which spells dream.
Boom.
In case you didn't know. What Barrett have to say about this one?
Dream is adorable. I'm not hip to the Jojo Siwa scene, but she seems like she's bringing the energy to all her performances. Ain't nothing wrong with that. The video is perplexing on different levels, though. Was it a dream? Did she actually jump into the screen? Are all of these theater goers her friends? Anyway, I like the song and have been singing it most of the week.
Yeah, it's definitely catchy in that kind
it's
of
like a little cheer,
kid bop kind of way. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have much to say about the song itself other than it's complete and utter tripe and nonsense. It is one of those things that I hate about the optimistic stereotypes where it's like
you can do it if you try.
Yeah,
you don't
all you have to do is try
hard.
hard enough, and anything you can dream, you can do. And it's like, no, you are wrong.
We sinned that in a script recently.
Yeah, there was a sin recently that addressed that.
It reminded me of that when I was watching the Sins video. I was like, we actually sinned that recently.
Yeah, because it's like there's some people that can't be doctors. That's okay.
And that's the thing. That's what makes me so mad about it. Is it's like, no, it's not about what you can dream. It's about how you were made. Like, what are you good at? What do you get excited about? Now, dreaming sometimes comes from like what you're excited about, but match that up with, how you're different, how you're unique. Like that's the beauty of like doing, like dreaming and doing big things and finding things you can do, is finding where you fit into this crazy big puzzle. And it's like
if she did the realistic lyrics, they'd like, if you can dream it, you can do it. You have to have connections and money and
well, yeah, because she was on I don't know how she got involved with Dance Moms, but her and her mother were on that show.
Right.
And then she, but I will say, I mean, my daughter loves her. Right. I guess she still does, although she hasn't like talked about her in a year or two. But my daughter was a huge fan of hers, and so I've kind of grown up. I mean, I've kind of been involved. I've seen a lot of her stuff, and she seems like a really, really good person. Like,
yeah,
I've never heard anything otherwise, and she works her ass off.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I think she puts out a video every day. I mean, like a YouTube video. Like she's
she's
doing
on YouTube
something
now.
And she does something. She makes sure she does something every day. And I don't know. It's just it's kind of, which is why we gave a sent off, because I thought there was something kind of like compared to some of these reality stars and whatnot. I don't know. She stands out a little better to me.
Yeah, because she was on AGT too, right? America's Got Talent. Wasn't she on that?
I don't know.
Okay, maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong about that.
But yeah, you're absolutely right. She is in the YouTube channels that I watch. If Jojo's name comes up, it's always like, this person is really positive. She's fun. She works really, really hard, and she stands for positivity and goodness. And so she's just like a little rainbow person. She's like rainbow bright.
Of all the people to love that, I love that. Positivity is amazing.
But then this song is kind of a contradiction to some of that, right?
It kind of is. That's what I'm saying. Like there's a level where positivity has to meet with realism and has to meet with an understanding, and that doesn't make it worse. In fact, it can make it better. That's what I'm saying. You can be even more positive when you accept the truth around you, as opposed to just being like, hey, if you want to fly, just dream it. It's like, what? Like,
and then go jump and see what happens.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. I don't know. So the song itself bothers me in that way, but it is what it is. It's obviously, speaking to something positive. So, that's fine.
If you've never watched Jojo Siwa though, Aaron, I don't think you'd be enjoying yourself. She is on a level of energy, like out of a 10, she's at like a 30.
See, but that doesn't bother me. That doesn't bother me. I like that. I don't amp it up. That's fine, unless you're being fake and you don't know that. So like, I don't know if you're being fake or real. So why should I ever judge that? So like, because people accuse me of being fake, they accuse my positivity of, I've had people like, you can't be for real. Like, be that positive. And it's like,
but there's something that's different about positivity from you, who lives in the real world, and your positivity has come to you through life experiences in your way. And then there's a difference when the person has grown up in the eye of culture.
Sure.
And so Jojo's level of positivity plus energy plus entertainment, I think she can come across as
too much.
To me,
I get it. I
don't mind it, but she is like a living Muppet on crack.
So
you know what I'm saying?
Here's what I would say. I want to give her permission.
I love it, but she's a lot.
Right. I want to give her permission to be herself. And if that is her, like if that's just your personality, go for it, be that. But I also want to be aware of a culture that pressures children to be like that so that they can make money for their parents and adults in their life. And, having just come off.
That could be, how do we know?
Right. We don't know. And that's why I need both things to be okay. I need it to be okay if it is true, and not to be a person who's like, that can't be true. But I also need to be the person who's like, I get that often that's not true and that's dangerous. Like, I think you can have both and kind of see both. So yeah, I would never judge her for being that way. I think that's great. I would be cautious of, a culture that tends to chew up and spit out children and for entertainment purposes.
We probably only hear the stories of the parents that take advantage. We don't hear the stories of the parents that never did, and let their kids keep put that money towards something better for the kids or whatever. We probably just never hear that story.
No, there are certainly positive examples of child stars that are okay. That they have parents that understood the difference between entertainment and performance in the real world, and express that to their children in a way that they were able to mature. Not easy. That's a pretty tough job when you're dealing with a child who is just learning what's real and what's not and how to distinguish between the two. But there are certainly, I think, examples of child stars who have done that. It's just not the norm.
I was even thinking about this last night watching the football game that was on last night. They just made a comment like Joe Burrow is the quarterback for the Cincinnati Bengals. He's 22, 23. And then Baker Mayfield's 25, quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. I'm trying to think, if I was 25 and I had $30 million, I would have been an insane person. You know what I'm saying? I don't even know. It's just, that's crazy to me. They're so young. I didn't, and I'm older now. So it's now I look at these football players and I'm they're so young. They're barely past being a kid, and then they're given these $80 million contracts.
Well, and somebody who's, JoJo's age or started at JoJo's age, there should be no pressure on her to have it figured out. she's a kid. You know what I mean? Like that's the other thing too,
Yeah.
is it's just like she should have the complete freedom to, be a kid and just, learn things and not have to know everything and not have to be mature and
Not have to make business decisions.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or make
Or
decisions that
or
better
even
represent her
moral or
brand.
ethical decisions. Those shouldn't
Yeah,
be on
for
her
sure.
shoulders. Like,
I don't know how
And
old
they might
she
not
is.
be.
Right.
She's 17. She's
Right.
17.
17.
Mhm.
I didn't know she was that old, actually. But I guess that makes sense because I think she was pretty early on in Dance Moms, and I think that's been out for 8 or 9 years.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, she dresses young and her color scheme is young and everything like that because she knows her audience.
This video is older, too.
Okay.
This video is from, I don't know what year it's from, actually. Hold on one second, I'll tell you.
I think all that to say, I think it's hard watching anyone on YouTube and knowing who they really are.
right.
There are certain personalities that I think you can connect with that feel a little bit more like there's time for maturity. But since JoJo is just so much energy, like it's hard for me to go like, okay, who is she in there? But at the same time, there's so much content out there that, and you can pick up on her personality. I think she's a good person trying to just make a good impact. And I think she's genuinely trying to use her platform to positively influence young girls. I like the clothes that she wears. I like the colors that she does. I like her messaging. And even if it's immature, she's also 17, So even if it's immature and the lyrics aren't deep and stuff, I'm curious how she's going to continue to take this platform. I mean, she's
Right.
17 years old and she has 11 million subscribers on YouTube. You know what I mean?
It is interesting in that we could be having, and by the way, I don't mean this as any judgment on the person I'm about to mention either, but it just as a comparison, like to look down the road. We could have been having this exact same conversation about Miley Cyrus when she was on the Disney Channel doing Hannah Montana, back in the day, being a positive influence, having that positive energy. And I'm not saying she's not being a positive, again, no judgment to, how her journey has gone, but you've seen how she's taken the spotlight and gone, okay, now I'm going to do what I want to do with the spotlight. Now this is who I am now. And maybe both of those things are genuine and both of those things are amazing. But what we need to remember is this is an actual human being who is having to learn what it means to be human in front of millions of people. And that is tough. That is a dangerous place, if nothing else. And so yeah, I think the key for a viewer or a fan is just to go, hey, you do you. And if you need to take time away to figure out what it means to be human and all that kind of stuff. Like, the judgment, I think, is where our culture gets into a real trap with that stuff.
Looks like this video is a year old, by the way. So it was 2019.
I know we want to get to the video, but it's also, I just want to say one quick thing too. There's a difference between Miley Cyrus and Jojo Siwa. I mean, I'm not talking about them as people. I'm saying Miley is on Disney. And JoJo is on YouTube, and they are completely different platforms.
That's true. That's fair.
And so we are seeing a daily life of a young woman versus someone being an actress and a musician, So it's a little bit different, but at the same time, like they're both young women who are having influence.
It's a great point.
I just think, I wonder if JoJo's influence is greater than what Miley's would have been. I'm not sure about that. I don't know if there's a way to gauge that, but to be able to go in and binge JoJo content versus Miley content it's a completely different stratosphere. It's like different planets, So, and YouTube is an interesting thing. Like it's a side of entertainment that is really different than anything that existed before it, because you can literally just peek into people's lives if they choose to show that to you. And when it's someone like JoJo who owns an empire of like merchandise, songs, and now she has this massive, YouTube following. It's pretty incredible to just be able to like go in and go, oh, I'm going to binge her content and I'm going to see like a day in the life of Jojo Siwa and be able to see the decisions that she's making and the conversations that she's having. And it's a lot. She's doing a lot.
Let's talk about the video itself. Danae, why don't you kick us off?
I really don't have much to add to the conversation. I really liked silencing your phones, but singing at the top of your lungs is perfectly acceptable.
Yeah.
Super enjoyed that. And then after singing Whoa, like, oh man, they only got a minute into this before they ran out of lyrics. I just cracked up laughing at that one. I liked a lot of it, but those are the only two that I wrote down.
Jonathan, what about you?
Barrett and I both actually wrote sins about how much we hated Heelys, so that was really fun to have a
That
to have
was
a sin
funny.
in there about that.
How dare you?
The speaking of her clothes, that one rainbow that was just like sticking off the side. It was just, and I remember watching it the whole time. I was just like, why is that bugging me? And then it, so we did the whole thing about the rainbow trying to escape from her leg. And
she kind of reminds me in her outfits. She reminds me of little Elton John. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah,
absolutely. And I got Barrett to do, which he's apparently, I didn't know this. He told me later he was really happy he got to do it, but I got him to do a riff on the George Clooney speech in From Dusk Till Dawn about the, I don't believe in vampires, but I believe in my own two eyes. And we just kind of reworded it. So that was fun.
Yeah, I had that one written down too, but I believe in my own two eyes. And what I saw is a person magically enter a movie screen.
Yeah.
It's really well done.
I added the or I might be on drugs. That is not in the From Dusk Till Dawn.
I enjoyed it's that movie from the 90s with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Tywin Lannister where a kid gets sucked into an action movie, and it was directed by the Die Hard guy, like just begging people to get his reference. It was a really fun way to take that.
And then he goes on that thing. He's like, that guy,
Come on. You're with me, right? Come on.
And it's a cult, and now it's an unironic cult classic.
Yeah.
Damn it.
I mean, it'll stop when you start working hard, though, right? Then you play hard and the party starts up again. Just like drawing out how nonsense the lyrics to this song are. I loved all those sins.
Good.
So yeah, very, very good. Moving on to CinemaSins, we'll kick it off with Age The Meltdown, the second Ice Age movie. Chris and I wrote on this. This is Atkinson Dicer script. So Chris may have some thoughts. Why don't we kick those off?
He said Ice Age 2 is not very fun to watch. The basic premise is that the main characters have to get out of the valley soon because the ice is going to melt and flood the whole place. So this is their quote-unquote adventure, with a forced relationship story between Ray Romano's mammoth Manny and Queen Latifah's mammoth Ellie at its heart. That Ellie thinks she's a possum. It's one of the most eye-rolling, give me a break aspects to any animated film ever. It doesn't lead to anything really funny, but the filmmakers sure think it is. In my research, I discovered that even now, we're technically still considered to be living in an ice age, in something called, Quaternary Galaxiation.
Great, perfect. Move on.
Guys, I thought that was fascinating. It didn't give me anything.
Unicornist.
He said it didn't give me anything to sin, but it was an interesting fact. Anyway, I thought the buzzards being secondary antagonists was dumb because they only eat dead animals and are no threat to their progress. And they introduced the primary antagonists frozen in the ice early on, only to feature them in one scene and only bring them back at the end at a time it doesn't even make sense for them to show up. I thought it was poorly written and conceived, but it made $667 million worldwide.
Yeah, I echo a lot of that. And the Ice Age sequels are very frustrating to me because I think they are the epitome of what could be wrong with animation in Hollywood, with the idea that if you make a genuinely likable, fun, well-casted, movie for animation, and it's like, okay, now we got to make 6 sequels, and every single Ice Age sequel after it is more lazy, stuffed with more characters, more ridiculous, and somehow continues to make bank. And that's just
so you've seen all of them, right?
I have.
You've probably reviewed them, in some form or fashion, right?
Yeah,
so, and they've had holiday specials and all kinds of stuff. But there's 5 movies. That's insane.
It's crazy. It's crazy. And so Ice Age is to me the epitome of taking something that was on its own pretty amazing. It was pretty great. I like the original Ice Age movie. It's not Pixar special to me, but it is one of those movies where I really enjoyed it. I thought Ray Romano was inspired casting. I think he's great. And so then you just destroy it by just milking it.
This was also, and I've never, this might be the first BTS where I haven't seen either one of the movies that we're doing on CinemaSins, but I have seen the first one. I've just never watched any of the sequels. My daughter never really got into them, I don't think, unless she watched them somewhere else.
Live in that world. Live in that wonderful, precious world.
But this is also noticed. This is also notable. I know Chris has mentioned this before too. When we've been talking about it, where he probably has talked about this on the Sincast. This was one of the first series I remember that they were actually making movies based more on worldwide gross than domestic. Because I think domestically, each one of these does worse, but overseas, is not necessarily the case. Like they make so much of that overseas.
Yeah.
And this was one of the first series I really remember noticing that.
Interesting.
Where, so
Danae,
I don't know. It's fascinating.
Have you seen any of the Ice Age movies today?
Yeah, I think I saw I know I saw the first one, but I don't remember anything about it.
I don't either. I just know I watched it. It was like on HBO or something.
And then I have seen this one because I was remembering the scenes as I was rewatching them for the Sins video, but I don't know that I could have told you the plot before watching the Sins video because I've obviously just forgotten about it. So, yeah, it's interesting. I like looking at older animation and thinking about how far that medium has come.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so incredible to me. Iris loves the little Pixar short Piper. Thanks for that, Erin.
You're welcome.
She actually asked to watch it the other night, and we're sitting down, we're watching it, and she goes, oh, Mommy, remember whenever I was over at Aaron's house and I watched this on his laptop? Like, yes, I do. Because she asked to watch this all the time when she was with Aaron for a while. So anyway, like watching that Pixar short, just the way that they animate water and shoreline and bubbles
And feathers.
and feathers.
And sand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the storytelling of just this short moment where this little bird learns how to not fear the wave and fend for itself and grow up and just all these little nuances that are in this moment. And then I'm watching this and I'm like, Scratch trying to get a nut. That's funny.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I mean,
Look at that.
I do want to mention also, can we talk about how like this is an example of something that pisses me off too? Because I remember when this got assigned and I was like, which one is this? Because I don't know when we stopped numbering sequels, but god damn it, let's get back to that because this pisses me off. Like call it Ice Age 2, The Meltdown, like, I mean, but put a number in there. Like, Mission Impossible does this. It's not just, I mean, like all these series, I can't, like Harry Potter, like I can't remember which one, the goblet of spit is or whatever. But
fire, I believe it's
fire, goblet of fire. Yeah, I couldn't think of that. I couldn't think of the word fire. Goblet of Robert Pattinson's first performance.
It's okay. Little Mermaid couldn't either. Oh, it was what's the word? Burn. Sorry. Go ahead.
It's a good pull. It's a good pull.
But anyways,
Thanks.
yeah.
I have
Stop
a couple
not
of movies
numbering
that
your goddamn sequels, Hollywood.
There you go.
Irritating.
There you go. All right, let's move on to the video itself. Today, why don't you start?
I loved everything to do with you guys singing Scrat. That was so fun.
That was fun.
From the very, in the very first couple of minutes, there was the one that's just like, I think it was like, isn't there a point when your body tells your brain, man, I'm hungry, but I ain't that hungry. I don't know why. That one got me so hard. I stopped.
It got me too.
I didn't actually keep watching. I stopped it and I just chuckled for a couple minutes because the idea that this creature has scaled this massive, glacier and it's got its little teeth just stuck in there.
Scrat's the best thing about these, though, right? Isn't that like kind of
Well, I mean, okay,
Well, it's
sure.
fun.
No,
but
I'm
it's-
asking. I haven't seen the first
But
one.
he also has nothing to do with them. See, that's the thing. Like Scrat in the original it literally had nothing to do with the movie, and then in this one he kind of has a couple plot points. That's my thing. It's fine, but you have Scrat movies then, or I don't know. I'm not a Scrat fan, even though I am a Scrat fan.
Please don't have Scrat movies, though. Don't put that out there.
No.
Oh, they
Like,
already
we don't-
exist. They already
They
exist.
Well, they
do?
have like there's like but not like theatrical. Like
Correct.
there's like specials
Okay.
and stuff
Yeah.
and short films, but there's not like Minion movies.
Right.
So
Correct.
Scrat reminds me of like the old Coyote style
Yes,
cartoon.
exactly
Yeah,
what
no,
he
that's
is.
that's 100%.
That's exactly
what
what he is. Yes.
Yeah, where he's just this guy that you're rooting for, but he always gets hurt or is in pain and he never gets the nut,
Yeah.
And so I think that might be part of why I enjoy Scrat is that I remember watching those old cartoons and they told me that was funny, so I believed them.
It is funny.
No,
it is funny.
Looney
It is
Tunes-
really funny.
Looney Tunes is great.
Yeah.
So, but there was not only just that simple joke about why would he be going after this acorn, but then the recurring mini jokes of like the comparison to all of the other things that, Scrat stands for, like the Scrat-a-tat-tat And there was just so many of those that were kind of peppered in, and I loved them all. It was fun.
It was
to
basically,
hear those.
I wanted to draw attention to how many of these unrelated things are in it, because this is like a 40-minute movie if you take all that stuff out. Like, it's crazy how padded this movie is. And
how long is it? Like 80 minutes?
Yeah, it's like 85, I think. I mean, we're close to 90. But it's one of those things where it's like, but I don't want to say the same thing over and over again. And so I was trying to think
so you were like Scrat Earthers Society.
Yeah.
Playing Scratagories.
My favorite was the Scrats in the Cradle.
Yes.
Yeah, that was funny.
Where he finds out the acorn's his long lost father. I don't know. That was the impetus for the running gag. Yeah, I'm glad it worked out. So it was
the
really fun.
Scrats in the Cradle and the Silver Spoon. Anyway, that whole series was genius and exciting, and it wasn't too much. Like, there was some kind of at the beginning, and then didn't happen for a while, and then it's just like boom. Face antlers.
Yeah.
Unexpected, hilarious. The guy going, "My stomach hates me," and then just the delivery of Jeremy so angrily saying, "We all do, Mr. Fart Joke Diarrhea Beast." Just like lowbrow humor, guys. It just gets me every time. I really liked the whole, like, when the writer's room does like the giving tree of the female was hanging out, like, and it was the writer's room has this giving tree of convenient plot development.
Yep.
The visual of that being a giving tree was really smart and well done. And then, of course, the just breaking apart the plot lines that didn't make any sense that are everywhere, like pointing out that Ellie herself would live much longer than the possums. Was like, hey, good point. I'm
just saying, Ellie's going to snap soon, and I'm here for it. I believe is the end of that one.
Yeah, I love that. See Bob and Crocksteady, and thanks to their brave journey, we will see many more mammoths. Was just a fun little wink too.
Yeah, they don't exist anymore.
They don't exist anymore.
Nope.
None of this actually matters. They're gone.
They're all gonna die.
So, yeah.
What about you, Jonathan?
It's my duty to rock that booty defense. As someone who appreciates his wife's curves, let's say, I may or may not have said that several times in my life.
That's so funny. It's my duty.
This carry-ons for some time, or however you say that, carry-ons for some time. I think his name is John Doe. I thought was really funny. And then, did you mention I don't think you mentioned this one, Janae. Did you can have your ass joke and eat it too?
Yeah, no, I didn't. Yeah, I didn't say that one, but I enjoyed that one too. Yeah. And
then I enjoyed I not even have seen that movie. I could tell that Diego B plot thing was terrible. Like, I was like, what is this crap?
The whole,
the worst.
Yeah.
And I'm glad one of you remembered that he had actually swam in the first one. That was pretty funny.
Just barrels right into the river to find the kid in the first one. It's just like...
But no, this is very funny. Like, I don't know, the ones where I haven't seen the movie sometimes are a little not that they're never not good, but I don't necessarily know exactly what's going on. But this was pretty easy to follow. I felt like I saw most of the movie and didn't need to watch it again.
You do not. You certainly do not. You gotta hand it to climate change. Such a prankster. It's almost as hilarious as Jared Leto on the set of Suicide Squad.
That was funny.
Yeah, that was great. Manny, brink of extinction is a bad time to be picky. Dating advice in the year 2020. Really made me laugh. I just love the lines in "That's how lies are told" after explaining how the acorn wasn't in the correct place, in the correct fish. And then I had to give props to Chris for this pun. Sloth napping, a sloth napping, I thought was inspired as well. So
fun stuff for real.
Fun stuff indeed.
We're having a good time with these animations, that's for sure.
Well, it is kind of animated week at CinemaSins. So we've got Chicken Little next. This was a huge share script. So Danae and Barrett writing on this one. Did Barrett have anything to say about Chicken Little?
Yeah, Barrett said Chicken Little is a Saturday morning cartoon stretched way too thin into barely a feature. Joan Cusack seems like the only one that's trying here. Zach Braff sounds like Zach Braff doing a Zach Braff impression to a theater full of Zach Braffs. So there's a lot of little Zach there.
Great.
The animation is kind of crappy. The story stinks. The town is a bunch of buttholes, and it was a terrible waste of American legend Don Knotts. Also, Patrick Stewart and Wallace Shawn are billed as being in this movie, but they each literally have 90-second scenes. I hope they got paid huge and ripped Disney's ass off. Patrick Stewart was in this?
Yeah.
Who was he? How do I not?
don't remember.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly the character, but yes, he is. And Wally
I don't know,
Shawn.
I've never seen this, and I've never been so happy I hadn't seen a movie watching
Okay,
this.
now listen. I'm not going to come to the defense of Chicken Little because it's a bad movie. But I am going to tell you, I loved watching this with my boys when they were younger.
That's totally.
I have
totally
I
makes
do I
sense.
have a fondness in my heart for this movie because of how many times we laughed together watching this movie. It was one of their favorites to put on repeat.
Yeah.
So
no, I totally get it. I have movies that I don't like that I do like because I shared them with my daughter.
Yeah, and watching it and watching us tear it apart, I'm just going, yeah, that's a terrible movie. And I'm kind of glad that I know it's a terrible movie now because I don't know I would have told you if you had come up and said, hey, what do you think about Chicken Little? I mean, oh, that's a fun movie. That's really fun. And now, like, I can go, oh no, it's really bad, really, really bad. But I kind of have a soft spot in my heart.
You know, like 15 years later, this came out in 2005. The one thing I remember about this movie, speaking of terrible, is that Kevin Kovis, or whatever his last name was, on American Idol, that little kid with the glasses, they called him Chicken Little because they would like when he was on TV, they would put pictures of the poster up against his face. It was so, I mean, you know, he laughed, but I'm sure at the time he was probably like, why are we doing this? Like, this is awful.
And there's stuff in the movie itself that is like appearance shaming humor and that kind of stuff. And so add to the fact that now I know it's a terrible movie, and I also know it has aged very, very poorly. The humor is you know, very mean at times. Yeah, all that's good to know. I'm glad I know that now. Thank you, Danae.
Yeah, you're welcome. Just for those who are interested, it was Mr. Woolensworth, who was the sheep teacher at the school, who like reacts to.
Oh, this was
the buck
Sir
teeth.
Patrick Stewart.
That
Is he
was
a sir?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he is. But then
Sir
also, whenever I was just kind of looking into that, I didn't know who Abby Mallard's voice was, it being Joan Cusack.
Mm-hmm.
I loved her performance and I love her voice. So that she was, I agree completely with Barrett.
Yeah, she's great.
It was really fun to watch, although I hated everything about this movie pretty much. The other thing that I found interesting is that Adam West was Ace's voice.
That's funny.
So at the very, very end, when they're watching the movie of their own story, and like, you know, Chicken Little is like this big buff guy named Ace. The voice actor for that was Adam West.
That's funny.
And I only looked that up because I was like, this voice sounds familiar. It wasn't at all who I thought it was. I don't know. I wouldn't have known who Adam West's voice was. In fact, I didn't really know who he was. Shame on me. I know, guys.
No, it's
It's
no
okay.
shame.
You don't have to know every fan
guys,
culture
it's
ever.
fine.
There's no reason
Guys,
for you to know that.
And it's not like Adam
Sorry.
West is like some great actor or something that we should remember.
No,
I mean,
he's just well
he has his
revered
place
in
in
Batman
history.
culture. You know,
yeah,
like
he has his place in history.
Yeah.
Like Shatner.
But there was something really familiar about his voice, and I was like, well, I guess it's the Batman stuff. I guess that's where it comes from, somewhere deep, deep, deep in the recesses of my mind.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of really famous people, you know, in this to kind of watch it. It's just, it was a shame that the angle that they took on this was just really, really difficult to watch. And I'm curious, I don't know that you would remember, Aaron, like what your boys thought was really fun and funny. If it was just, you know, the fart jokes and the low humor and, you know, but this movie really showcases making fun, like boldly showcases making fun of unpopular people. Like even the coach says unpopular versus popular. So they're very comfortable with all of the stereotypes, every single one of them. Ugly people, pretty people, popular people, and then incredible amounts of shaming for a child who is, you know, concerned about something and has a genuine concern, even to the point that, and as we point out, that the parent in the situation doesn't even back his son at all, and then turns into his champion when he plays sports. Another terrible cliche that your value is based on whether you're playing sports or not. And even points out in the car, I don't think you can do sports. What about chess? Which it's just a weird thing of how this movie chose to make the audience think that there are positives and negatives. A positive is playing sports and negative is as chess. A positive is being beautiful and popular and negative is having buck teeth. And I was really disturbed by this entire movie. It was awful.
In fairness, I think there's another reading to this, though, and I think it kind of goes to something with movies that is part of the difficulty. which is that there's another reading that says that he was wrong in those things, and that this movie is about how those people that we do overlook and we do categorize in these things are the people we need to be listening to, and that they're, that they are valuable despite all these stupid stereotypes that we have. Like, there's a reading of the movie that where it's about exactly the thing you want it to be about. It's just that it plays humor the things that are negative stereotypes.
Yeah.
And so there's a way
That's a good way, yeah.
There's a way it uses that humor that is just mean. And it's wrong because it gives credence to the idea that that is funny when you do that. That is a funny thing.
I was going to say, I haven't seen the movie because I'm sure that's what they're going for. I very seriously doubt the people behind it are like, hey, let's just make fun of fat people. But,
right.
But they might have gone too far over with what they were lampooning to make that lesson come
lampooning it, they're saying it is actually funny.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
There's
a fine line.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. There is an interesting
line. We
line.
fight that line as CinemaSins writers because we do have things where we'll even catch ourselves and be like, please look at this and make sure it's not too mean because, and once you've written it, sometimes it's kind of hard to figure that out for yourself. I also did like, even though I haven't seen the movie, I don't know how it's handled in the movie, I did like the idea that the sky falling was aliens.
That's something I was going to say as well. There are some clever things that this movie does, like the sky falling being, and the mystery reveal of, okay, so what is this chunk of sky? Why does he say it's this particular shape? Why is it not there? And then for them to answer it with this idea that the aliens have a faulty piece of their equipment that falls off, and that they visit every year to harvest acorns, and that's why it's happening twice.
Oh my God, acorns! What the hell?
Well, they don't say it.
What a weird.
They don't say it.
Follow up to Ice Age.
They don't say it in Chicken Little, but these aliens are descended from Scrat in the Ice Age. The Scrat's people actually evolved and left the planet, and now are coming back for the acorns.
What was the original Chicken Little story? I don't even remember now.
It's a parable. It's just about not losing your mind when something small happens.
Did the sky really fall though in the parable?
No.
Okay.
I don't.
That's what I couldn't remember.
No. I think in the parable it is an overreaction to something that wasn't bad. So the idea is to not overreact. It's a story that teaches us not to overreact.
The moral of the traditional Chicken Little story is to have courage even when it feels like the sky is falling. The decision as any adult to learn to read and write is a courageous one. I don't know why it has that about writing, but that's what it says.
That's also weird and not really true. Like that's
Hey, listen, this is something that I
state your references.
To read.
This is something I Googled quickly, and the source is Facebook.
No. Okay.
So it's super.
I take it back. Then if it's on
true.
Facebook, I take it back.
It's good to know that every time I'm reading, I'm being courageous.
You're being courageous.
By reading my Agatha Christie novel, I'm showing so much courage.
Is it possible that that's the message of the movie Chicken Little that they're trying to say? Because that is not the message of the original Chicken Little story.
I thought the message of the movie is that you should lose weight or you can't fit in a desk.
Yeah,
that was the.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh my gosh, that school environment.
Let's go into the video itself. I'll kick us off. I love the all the salt and pepper will be ruined with water slobber leaking into it, and the next guy who wants to liven up his bland meal will be thwarted by congealed spice blobs. I thought that was really funny. When clearly there are other idiots to blame for the insane amounts of destruction is such a great point in this movie, and it's just like, you can blame Chicken Little for this if you want, but you're all the ones that went crazy. Which
they
again,
all reacted not like crazy people.
Overreaction. That is the point of the original story, despite what you read on Facebook. And then, am I missing the super funny joke about people with buck teeth being shockingly disturbing to look at? It's just such a great way to say that.
Was that the one where you guys were just focusing on Chicken Little's teeth?
No, that was in the classroom when the teacher's calling out their names.
Oh, yeah.
And it goes literally, it pans over to her, and it's got this angle, and her teeth are all out, and her eyes are all wonky, and the sound goes Aruga.
Oh, okay, that's right.
Aruga. Oh God, teeth.
Yeah.
I'm really sensitive to teeth jokes, though. So.
Did you get made fun of for your teeth?
Oh my God, yeah. I had buck teeth, and then I had braces that kind of like helped, but I still actually have buck teeth. And so when I was writing the script, like that came from a very personal place.
Yeah, I'm sorry that you dealt with that growing up.
Yeah,
that's
was
terrible.
Yeah, well, I mean, kids get made fun of for all kinds of things.
What is that?
I don't like
it's where the front kind of section of your teeth, instead of going like straight down, they go outwards, more outwards. Think
they buck like
think
like
Freddie Mercury in a way. Although I've heard the term.
I wasn't sure what exactly that referred to. I didn't know if they were just because they're bigger, or I didn't know what it was. But that makes sense because they say a floor buck. So yeah.
Yeah, to this day, I don't really do full smiles with pictures and stuff because I learned to cover my top row of teeth because I have a gap. I have a gap in the top row of my teeth. And now, even as I know that doesn't matter, that doesn't affect my value, it's just something I learned growing up. So those things just like stay like in you that you should be ashamed of for your parents or whatever.
I think that's why I was hypersensitive. Like, I think in a movie, I can understand children, pointing out differences and making fun of other children. That's kind of a normal, that happens all the time because you
it's a human thing.
You go into school, you don't realize that people are different than you. You make a joke because that's kind of all you know how to do, or you say something rude or something perceived as rude because you're a child. But when a adult reacts like, "Oh God, this horribly ugly child," like I get instantly furious about that stuff.
Yeah,
so I was glad that one made it into the sin. I'm glad you enjoyed that one.
I did. I've got more. Wait, this ump overturns his own call without a replay or a coach's challenge. I could believe.
Thank God for Barrett on that one.
They were really into baseball, whatever this town was,
but
right?
This is a bridge too far. And then the Don Knotts shout out I thought was great. Possibly the most I laughed though during the movie was when it's in the dodgeball game and the donkey kicks away all the balls. And then the narrator just goes, right? So he's out, right?
I laughed so hard whenever I read it. And then when I saw it in the editing, I was like, that was so fun.
What's
that
beautiful,
was Barrett's,
and this is what you aim for with writing sometimes. What's beautiful is it takes a turn that you just aren't expecting, right? Like, it's just like, how dodgeball works. If you actually think about it, that he would be out because it hit his feet. All those little
tinky tink.
but there's just something about it, and it's just, I don't know, it's perfect. It's just a perfect sin. So it just surprised me. What about you, Jonathan?
I really liked the goodbye, if you want to be my lover, and hello, take a lick, but it's too cold to bite me. Talking about the referencing songs. And
that's a fun one. That was one where I bravely and boldly sent my script to Barrett, where I was like, this sin isn't done yet. This one's still baking and cooking. I need help. Here's where I want it to go, but I need to make sure that it makes sense. And he is so good with like lyrics and bands and stuff. And I gave him like what I wanted it to do, and he just like tweaked it enough to where it made sense. I was like, okay, so you think that works too? Okay, good, because it's just I was kind of shocked that they were doing. I was shocked that they were doing that song in this one, and they perform like a full 90 seconds of that song. Like genuinely, they're playing the song and they're performing it for like 90 seconds. It was kind of shocking. Anyway,
well, and I also like that now. Like we've gone like 4 weeks in a row mentioning Blackpink, so we got to keep that. We got to keep that streak alive.
The streak. Yeah.
And then I just love Jeremy's reading of Attack of the Drone.
Very nice. Danae?
That was very fun.
I really enjoyed reading the comments on this one. People confirming that a couple of the scenes where we point out that it could be really frightening and strange for children to watch. Like the whole movie starts off with them like just in a panicked state, and then ends up like shooting one of the characters and evaporating her and not even saying if she's alive. And we didn't show a lot of it, but the chase of the aliens angrily with like swinging blades chasing the children through the woods in the dark, hanging from trees like a monkey and like swinging after them, and then like going through the corner. I'm like, oh my God, this is really scary. So I love that the comments like yeah, that scared the crap out of me.
Maybe I need to check in with my adult sons now, and just be like, hey, did I mess you guys up? Watching this movie, are you guys okay? You guys okay? Do you fear corn stalks for no apparent reason? I think I have the answer.
When you think back on this movie and feel bad for Chicken Little, remember, this little asshole could have returned the paper to the briefcase that was sitting right there, but instead opted to run them through the guy's own horn. That was
That's a kid
lot
thing,
of fun. Is it? Is it?
Well, not that specific. No, that was crazy. But I'm just saying, like, I love one of my it's gotten to the point where it's just funny watching your child like do the most complicated version of what could have been done in like 2 seconds. And it gets to, I don't know if Aaron, if you're like this too, it gets to a point where you stop correcting and you just kind of enjoy it because it's so entertaining. And then eventually be like, okay, so next time you might want to do it this way.
Yeah.
That's just what that made me think of.
I really enjoyed pointing out all the stuff on the newsstand, just sort of like, okay, what is this world? Pointing out like the monetary parts of like, is an acorn money?
Mm-hmm.
Is it like, what is it here? And someone in the comments pointed out that their money literally does grow on trees. And then there's all these comments reacting like, oh, holy crap. So, yeah, I don't know. I had a good time writing this one. I was able to find a lot of fun stuff. Oh, another one that Bear wrote that I really liked was, yeah, that's right, it's frozen pea. And then him saying, if someone improbably asked, this is exactly how I would describe the plot of this movie. Frozen pea.
Nice.
I've been in the script too long. It's time for me to, move on out of it now, though. I'm excited to say goodbye to this one. But it was fun to watch, and as of today, it's on the trending list, so that's fun.
Yes, very nice.
Nice. Yeah, I'm glad it's getting some attention. Okay, let's move on to keeping tabs.
The internet is a communications tool used the world over where people can come together to bitch about movies and share pornography with one another.
Oh, jeez.
This is the most public yet of my many humiliations.
We're just going to talk about something from preparing this week's content, whether it be a deleted sin, maybe a Google search that's now got us on an FBI watch list, whatever the case may be. What do you guys got? Who wants to go first?
Something is good on the watch list. I'm glad I learned early on. I've noticed that my keeping tabs section has gotten tamer and tamer. Like the epic one that we did at the very beginning where I'm researching like how long it takes for someone to bleed out. And I'm like, I don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
Maybe it's part of what we're watching. We're not watching Game of Thrones anymore. So I don't have to think like that.
And then there's me over here being like, acorn sex and seeing if that's an actual fetish. Like,
is that your keeping tabs?
No,
Aaron?
it wasn't. But those kind of things do happen. So it's funny because actually both Chris and I wrote sins about him wanting to have sex with the acorn. We both figured that was the only explanation for Scrat's pursuit of this acorn is that he wanted to have sex with it. So
it's really funny because can I go ahead and go first then? Because this actually weirdly ties in. So I didn't really do any research on, because the only thing I worked on were the two TV sins, and I didn't really have to look up anything. But what was funny was on the Phineas and Ferb, I was trying to think. We ended up not using this sin, but there's a scene where Phineas has this hair on his little pointy head that's just kind of like this little, like, I don't even know how to describe it. It's just this little curly little hairstyle.
Mm-hmm.
And I was trying to think of something, and I didn't want to Google it because then I didn't know what weird pictures I would get and stuff like that. So I actually had a note for Aaron and said, I cannot think of what this is, but I'm looking for this word. It's something trail. It has something to do with the pubic region or something.
You're the expert on the pubic region.
I'm pretty sure you're thinking a treasure trail. And I'm like, that is it. But I didn't want to Google it. Like I just because I didn't know what to Google, like pubic trail. Like I wasn't going to Google that. Like I didn't know what was going to happen,
I don't know.
But that's not even, and it's not really pubic. It's from the belly button, right?
Correct. Yeah. It's the hair that sometimes grows from the belly button down to the pubis. I don't know what's more embarrassing, that you knew that I was the expert on all things pubic, or that I actually was. I'm not sure which is that I knew the answer immediately.
I just knew I didn't want to Google it. And then we ended up not even using it anyways, because I think Danae brought up, I remember what I don't know, we ended up not using it. It didn't really work. And
I don't remember what that was either. Something about...
It was just being a kid, and even if it's animated, and but anyways,
do we want to insinuate that there's something pubic on this child's head?
yeah, and so I mean, and then I was like, yeah, that makes sense, and I don't know, it wasn't that great, but it was just funny. I went through all that, like, there was just so much trying to figure it out. Like I probably spent like an hour on that one thing when you think about it, Isn't
it funny what we can get caught on?
Yeah,
it is.
Our jobs
really
are so interesting in that way, where you're researching something and you're like, am I onto something here, or am I wasting my time? Like, what world have I just fallen into?
I was going to bring up from Phineas and Ferb the sin about Candy and the Kisses, the 60s girl group that they're dressed like a 60s girl group. And I just bring that up because it's a reminder to me to always do some research because you never know what gold is going to be there. I just did research on names of actual 60s girls group, and Candy and the Kisses is an actual girls group from the 1960s, and her name is Candace. And I was just like, oh, well, then that's perfect. And who's going to get that? I don't know, maybe one person out of a million is going to know that that's an actual group, but there's something there that's kind of fun for me when you actually do like the extra bit of, kind of research on something and come up with something specific. Because I really like specific humor. I think it's often funnier than just general.
It's true though, because I even got a comment from somebody after The Mandalorian going, I really loved the outtake with, I'd like to rage. And I was just like, somebody got that reference. That's so fun,
Yeah, exactly. And then I did have a You Done Messed Up Aaron that I need to admit to. This was on the Ice Age. I wrote the syntax joke where we just added a syntax for cartoon physics. And in the script, I wrote times 0.07 because that's, 7%. But actually, if you're doing tax, you need to put the 1 in there. It should be times 1.07 because otherwise you're decreasing the number, not increasing it. So it's really percentage plus the original. So the equation that was there was not correct. That was my fault. But also, you knew what I meant.
You know what I meant. Calm down, everyone.
That was funny when you told us all that, though. And then, I don't know, Barrett said something like, God damn it, Aaron. Obviously joking.
Yeah. Everybody pretended to.
Yeah, that pretty much ruined my day.
Yeah, everybody pretended it was like the worst thing ever. Because here's one thing that's amazing. Our absolutely incredible Sin Club members will kind of alert us to that stuff sometimes. And sometimes we'll, be able to change stuff. Not usually, but sometimes. So they will do that. They will help us out and let us know, things. And we love that. Our Sin Club members are amazing. And this was one of those instances where it was like, oh, yeah, this is coming. And so I got into the Slack and was like, hey, guys, just so you know, there's going to be some comments about this. So I wanted to mention that as well. However, the maybe you done messed up Aaron, but maybe you didn't of the week goes to the Carl. Sin had Carl's name with a K instead of a C, and apparently his first name is Carl with a C, but guess what? His last name is Carl with a K. His name is Carl, and the last name. So
it works.
He was calling him by his last name. Look, that's something people do. So it still works, absolutely. I think. Still absolutely
I do that.
Works.
I call my husband Hughes.
Right.
So
yeah.
You do.
So there you go.
I didn't realize it was weird until someone pointed it out.
No, I've had friends that I called them by their last name.
Danae, what do you got?
I did just looking into the whole like fallout of Disney not having merch. And so the reason that they did not have any merch for The Child when the video releases because they didn't want any spoilers. They didn't want to have created merchandise of any kind, really, because it would have alerted the public through leaks and such as to what was going to be happening in the show.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Which makes sense.
Total sense.
But of course, that left this desire once they reveal this character of people who are like, oh my gosh, that cute little thing. Like, I want that. And so, of course, there were all of these artists, both like on sites like Etsy or just, artists who are just drawing like stickers, things like that are creating this image of the child and creating like little adorable things you can buy. And so then began Disney's basically manhunt. They began hunting down the most popular Baby Yoda toys on Etsy and other sites, anything that used the word Baby Yoda, Star Wars, and they just started issuing cease and desists over and over and over again. So people who had sold items where they hadn't been delivered yet had to like issue refunds, and it was just like this big deal. And because we know someone who went through this, there was a whole bunch of orders that were on place that never got to be filled. And so the Etsy community specifically was really hit kind of more hard because that's obviously where a lot of makers and crafters are. And they have a lot of bad feelings about what happened because they were obviously able to make an income off of this. And while I completely understand, Disney owning the right to something, like bad on them for not having an option, and also maybe bad on them for not, like Jonathan pointed out earlier, potentially employing people to say, yeah, you know what, we'll back you selling, but you need to pay us for part of it. Like, wasn't there some option in between where I'm sure that would be way more complicated? It's probably less complicated to just issue cease and desist and be the bad guy than it is to try to empower these small creators.
Sometimes it takes energy to turn a negative into a positive, but it's always the best way to go. And I think you see companies sometimes just be like, just not worth the energy to turn a negative into a positive, to take this situation and find a way out of it that is actually fun or interesting or good. I will also say copyright law is a very interesting discussion. And, you said you understood how, Disney owns this stuff and they should be able to make money off of. That is a true statement legally. I don't know that it is a true statement ethically. And I think the idea of copyright law has been taken to mean something now that it did not mean when it was invented, when it started. It was invented and started in a completely different technological age, in a completely different time. And the idea was that creators should have a period of time where they can make money off of something they create before it belongs to everybody. Because anything that's beloved will belong to everybody eventually. That's what public domain means, is that this is so popular, so interesting that the public owns it now and you don't own it anymore. And the idea of public domain has completely exited the copyright conversation. So many Disney things should be public domain. The public should own them. But we just have a different view of that now based on a misunderstanding of copyright law. It's one of my biggest pet peeves. So
also, like a lot of things get lumped all together, and it's like there's a huge difference in drawing or painting a likeness and even putting it like on a t-shirt or something than ripping a digital copy of a movie that you didn't pay for and then trying to sell that. Those are two very different things, and I think one is theft. The other one is not.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think that's interesting too, that it all kind of gets lumped together. Like they're ripping movies off torrent sites, and it's not what they're doing. They're artists and they're making art.
And again, I could have a much longer conversation about this. Is one of my favorite topics, but I will say that there's also a difference between making money off of something, having the ability to make a living off of it, and having the ability to abuse things you own to be filthy rich. Like there should be, like the intent was, we don't want creators starving because somebody else takes their idea and runs with it. And that's not what's happening here. Disney has milked this stuff. Like it can belong to everybody now. So yeah, anyhow,
yeah, that's true.
I could get really distracted about this because I love this conversation. But Danae, you were going to say something.
Yeah. So it's just interesting because like sites like Etsy and such, they, obviously had to kind of get involved too. So search options for words like Mandalorian, Star Wars, Baby Yoda, the word Yoda by itself, things like that, they had to like basically make it harder to find those things, pull down listings, block that kind of stuff. And what was interesting is, at the explosion of the child being extremely popular, some of these people were selling like 200 of an item, which is huge for these individual people. Someone said that one of their Baby Yoda things was viewed over 2,000 times, had 300 people put it in their cart. Like they can kind of track this and going, wow, this is a really popular item. Not that they're going to be able to create that stuff to keep up with demand. I mean, these are people who are like knitting and sewing and crafting these like handmade objects. They're not like mass producing them at some like plush company. Meanwhile, Disney is trying to work with Build-A-Bear to get something out quickly and all this stuff. And then, release their own merchandise, because at the time when they were doing this, they still didn't have merch to sell, but they were like having everybody like, no, you guys can't make it. You guys can't make it. I just wanted to kind of point that out, but then also say you can still find, handmade Etsy Baby Yoda merch. You just have to use different search words. You have to search for baby child, green child, alien, and like a combination of words. And there's still, stuff that you can buy. But, obviously artists.
And for legal reasons, we will now say we are not encouraging you to do so.
No, I'm just saying it's part of the interest. No, it's just an interesting part of the conversation is that, they're trying to find their own way to do it. But because people can't search for specific words, it is really difficult to find the items that maybe you would have been looking for. And all this happened like almost it happened back in January. So it's been, almost a year ago now that any of this big push almost happened.
It really was only like 9 months ago when all this went down. That's great. It seems like it seems like The Mandalorian came out like in 2017 or something.
Yeah, it's been at least 20 years since The Mandalorian came out.
But the other thing about this, not to get too much off on this, but that's another thing, right? Like, Etsy just immediately bowed. And I don't know how big of a thing Etsy itself is. Like, I don't know how Etsy makes money, and I don't know all that, but I'm guessing they're large enough to where they could at least be like, yeah, we're not gonna make our creators but have to give in that easily. Like and we complain about YouTube creators, but complain about how YouTube doesn't ever come to their defense.
But again, it's the law's fault. The law is wrong right now. That's what I'm saying.
No, I agree. I agree.
It is perfectly within the law for them to have to do that, but the law is wrong. And sometimes laws are wrong and they need to change.
You're wrong, law.
Look, I'm telling you, I've thought about this a lot. I think I even have a solution. I think you get either 30 years or $30 million, whichever happens first, and then everybody gets to own it. And I think it's just, that is just one of those things where I have trouble because we are in such a mindset now that when you create something, you own it and you're the only one that gets to make money off of it. And ideas aren't owned. They just can't be owned. And it's frustrating to me. So it's a real passion point.
You can even work out something too if like the creator still gets like maybe 1% or 0.5%. There's even after the 30 million or whatever. There's ways to, make it beneficial to everyone involved.
Yeah. Again, like that number would increase obviously as time goes on and inflation happens. But I just think Harry Potter people should be selling Harry Potter books that aren't J.K. Rowling's. Like that Harry Potter in that world belongs to the public now. That is but people don't believe that anymore because of the way we understand copyright law. Anyhow, you can tell I get passionate about this, but
yeah, I didn't know this. I've known you for a long time. I don't think I've ever been like copyright law. Watch Aaron go.
I'm just saying.
I'll tell you about it while I shave my entire body because I don't like body hair.
I've copyrighted that, by the way. You can't shave your entire body without paying me. All right. I think that's...
Send your check.
What a weird thing to say. What a weird out of context quote. You can't shave your body without paying me.
But Gene Simmons was the one that tried to like copyright like everything he did. Yeah. Like, do you remember this? Like,
yeah, no. Again, that comes from a stupid law. It's a stupid law. Yeah. But anyhow, let's move on to the comments section.
I want to know what you're thinking.
I appreciate your honesty. You're a real straight shooter.
You are the ones who are the ball lickers.
We're each going to talk about a comment from you, whether it be in the YouTube comments or Discord or at the YouTube channel, I said YouTube channel, for the podcast or SoundCloud or wherever. Really anywhere.
A tweet you could have sent.
Yeah, absolutely.
You could have sent it to our P.O. box. We don't know.
That's right. Behind the Sins has a P.O. box now. I
guess we should probably add that to the very end, you can also send, your questions or comments to us via snail mail at Behind the Sins, or P.O. Box
Baby Yoda artwork.
Yes, send your baby Yoda merchandise to our P.O. Box.
P.O. Box 881, Republic, Missouri 65738.
That will be the only time we mention the P.O. Box on the actual podcast. If you want it is on our Twitter, so you can find it there.
It's also on our webpage at cinemasins.com/BTS. Why do we have a P.O. Box if we can't talk about it?
You can talk about it anytime. Who's sending snail mail? I just don't think that's something that's happening.
I think you're greatly...
Oh, did I just do it? Are we going to get tons of letters now? Is that what's about to happen?
I think that would be so cool. Like little postcards from around the world.
I'm going to have to start checking that thing daily instead of weekly, huh?
Oh, I see. You don't want to talk about it because you don't want to go to the post office. Now I understand.
Oh, you know what? I have an
okay.
extra key. I have an extra key today. I will put you in charge of the P.O. Box, and you can mention it as many times as you want.
Yeah, your wife loves going to the post office.
Oh, is that what's happening now? I'll let you be the one to tell her. Anyways, comments. What do you got? Jonathan, why don't you go first?
We talked about this a little bit when we talked about the Jojo Siwa video that we took a sin off, but I just thought it was funny. Slab Bulkhead said, add taking a sin off on a Jojo video to my list of things I thought I'd never see.
Yeah.
And fair enough, but I don't know. I don't know. Sometimes I get a little, I don't know if I'm as passionate as Aaron is about copyright, but I do think there are some people that have come out of the reality world that kind of get lumped in with other people that they probably shouldn't get lumped in. I actually just had a great discussion with a director we just got the chance to interview who worked with Paris Hilton. And we were talking about how, he was talking about how great it was to work with her and how, she kind of unfairly gets thrown in with the Kardashians and stuff like that. Sure. And I kind of feel that way about JoJo. I think JoJo, it seems to me, I don't know her, but it just seems to me as someone who has a daughter that likes her. And so I've watched a lot of her stuff that she's really putting in the effort. She really does genuinely like her fans and is trying, so I don't know. It just felt like a good idea to
I think you're
give
right.
her a little bit of love.
I think that's right. We
will not be taking a sin off for Jake Paul or anybody like that, so you don't have to worry about that. But JoJo, she's all right.
Fair enough.
And if we do, it would only be to incite fury.
Yeah,
Danae, what about you?
I am going to go outside of where we normally go grab our comments and go to our Apple iTunes reviews, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, cool. So there was one that came in
reviews
just last week. We do. We have 60 some reviews on Apple. And so you can listen to your podcast on any platform. There's so many places to listen to a podcast, but obviously the king of podcasts has been Apple, since that's where podcasts lived and existed, in the very beginning.
Yeah, I think they have the copyright on podcasts, actually. I think everybody else has to call them something else.
And there are charts and stuff for podcasting, and they usually use, from what I understand, data from Apple. And so reviews on Apple iTunes is actually still really valuable. So we appreciate anyone who's gone there to leave feedback. This one comes from last week from Apathy Nihilist, who says, these people are a delight. It's a 5-star review, guys. It says, the entire Sinful family are wonderful and entertaining. If the Sincast crew are the brains, then the BTS crew are the heart. If you enjoy any of the Sinsverse, then you should definitely check out Behind the Sin.
I'm going to choose to focus on that we have a lot of heart here and not that we don't have brains. That's how I'm gonna
or that the A team doesn't have
a heart.
Although they really don't. They really don't. They're mean. Especially that Jeremy guy.
And we're dumb. They're mean and we're dumb. No, I really appreciate that.
Way to take a wonderful comment and just twist it for your great pleasure.
That was great.
It is wonderful. Thank you. It is humbling to see those comments. We appreciate you listening for sure. All right, I can go next. I wanted to talk about this. There was a comment that said on the Phineas and Ferb episode, you literally send the intro on every PNF episode. No other show gets that treatment. And I've seen this a few times recently from a couple commenters where it's like, why are you sending the intro? You can't send the intro to the show. I have two thoughts. My first thought is, yeah, we can. We just did. And then the second thought is, if you think we're only doing that to your show, you are not paying attention. We send the intros on pretty much every show we do. If it has an intro, right from the beginning, from Game of Thrones, we send the intro being too long.
That Game of Thrones run we did, I remember every one you had a different sin about a different part of the intro.
That's right. That's part of one of the fun things. I think actually it was Barrett that alerted me to it when he was shadowing some of those early TVS scripts, was I love how you guys find something silly in the intro different each time. And so every time I do a show, I look for something different in the intro. All the Office episodes have something, about that intro.
Friends.
That's a little bit, but Friends as well. So yeah. In fact, I think it was during the Friends run, our first Friends run, where Barrett brought it up. And it's stuck with me since then.
Phineas and Ferb has crammed in 10 years of content into their intro. They're
true.
asking for it. There's just so much. It does remind me of The Office or Friends, where there's just so much happening in the intro.
Or Rick and Morty. We do the same with Rick and Morty when we do those. Yeah. So I thought I brought that up just to say, yeah, I mean, it is something we do. And if that bothers you, there's other places to have fun.
And you're clearly only watching the Phineas and Ferb videos, which is also fine.
It is.
Thank you.
Totally fine.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you. Absolutely. All right, let's move on to Beyond the Sins.
To infinity and beyond.
Somewhere beyond my wild history.
To boldly go where no man has gone before.
We're just going to chat about something else from the pop culture world that's been on our minds recently, and I'll kick us off.
Kick it. No.
Oh, no. And Danae's got to do a movie now that she watched at a film festival.
No.
I'm going to talk about a mobile game. It is called Exponential Idol. And this is one of my favorite kinds of games, the idle games, where it's all about efficiency and tapping things and progress. And you may think of...
What is an idle game?
I'll give you some... I think the most popular one is Lemonade Stand is the type of game. And there's... what's it called? Capitalism, Adventure Capitalist.
Yeah.
Adventure Capitalist is probably the one that many people have heard of if you've heard of them. But the basic idea is that you do stuff, you set up stuff to run in the most efficient way possible. And then while you're not playing it, it runs and it makes money for you, or not actual money, but money in the game or points or whatever. And so it's kind of one of those things you just check in on and make sure everything's running efficiently. And then once you've made so much money, you buy different things that'll make it run more efficient, other products or whatever. So I love those kind of games, and this one is one that just boils it all down to just math equations. And there's something about it that's really interesting to me, because it's almost like looking at HTML code instead of websites, where it's like, oh, you take away all that fluff and there's actual like code underneath. And so it's just kind of an interesting way to approach these games. And for my fellow idle game lovers, I thought I would throw it out there because it's been a lot of fun to work my way through it. Cool. I also like idle games because they kind of have an end. And so it's like you kind of work your way through them, get stuff set up, and then, wait for them to do an update to where you can do more. So it's a lot of fun for me. But anyways, Exponential Idol is the name of the game.
I'm going to talk about a little web comic that I like, because it's another one. I got some positive feedback about some of the little stories that I've mentioned that are not ongoing, but they're kind of already at a close, so you can just read through them and enjoy the artwork. And so I've been continuing to try to find completed stories on Webtoons. So it's another Webtoons for you. It's a free story, and this one's by Witherling, WHITHERLING. Witherling is the cave-dwelling gremlin creator of a handful of fantasy webcomics. I just thought that was funny how they kind of like set up their profile. The title of this story is Crumbs, and it is a 55 episode series. So it's actually kind of, as far as other ones, it's, to me, on the shorter side. It's based in this like magical world where there's enchantments and stuff, and it's this person who is kind of growing up, has left home, is trying to figure out where she belongs and what she wants to do with her career, while also kind of meeting some new friends and a little bit of the dynamics of the friendships. What I find interesting about this particular story is where the author chooses to kind of shine her attention on relationships, shine her attention on personal value. And, I just think she handles kind of situations realistically. And I think the artwork is really refreshing. There's been some really beautiful artists that I found on Webtoons, and she's certainly one that just does things a little bit differently. It's a little bit more raw in her drawing, but it's unique and fun, and it's a quick read. And I thought I would throw it out there for anyone looking for just a story to kind of get into. It's a very special town. There's a very unusual bakery where the house specialty is a selection of baked treats handcrafted to help you make your dreams come true. Whether you need inspiration, support, or confidence, they've got a cake or muffin fresh made with magic to meet your needs. But for Ray, a quiet young woman with special power of her own, the order is always the same: a hot tea with a delicious side of romance. This makes it seem like it's like a romance story, and originally I thought like, oh, this is going to be kind of romance, but I really didn't find it to be that. I think like the summary could have been a little bit, I don't know. It's a little deceiving, the summary. Yeah. Either way, I do think that you would enjoy it maybe. And it's called Crumbs. It's Crumbs by Withering in the romance section of Webtoons, but don't let that deter you from reading. It's a sweet little story.
It's just called Crumbs or called with a side of crumbs?
It's Crumbs.
Crumbs.
Simply Crumbs.
All right. Very nice.
It's romantic crumbs.
Jonathan, what do you got?
I need to actually start reading some of these webcomics. I read enough. I mean, I read most of my comics digitally anyways, but I'm still reading like, you know, DC and Marvel and stuff like that. I need to actually look at some of these too, because they sound really fascinating. I'm actually going to talk about a book. Is this the first time ever we haven't talked about, like, one of us had talked about a movie or a TV show?
It could be.
Thank God.
That was funny. So I read a book recently by Adam. I've talked to this guy on Twitter, but I don't know. I'm gonna go with Caesar. It's Cesare. So I guess it could be like Cesare or something. But I'm gonna go Adam Caesar. So if I'm wrong, I apologize to whoever's listening out there. He is like, I don't know if he's always been self-published, but I know at the very least he's done like smaller publishing firms and stuff. He's been writing for the last, like, I don't know, he's been publishing for like the last 8 or 9 years probably. And I've read a few of his earlier novels, mostly in the horror genre, some in the kind of like horror sci-fi. But anyways, he recently signed a deal with Harper, which is a big publishing company, and specifically Harper Teen. So his first book with a major publishing company that he's releasing is also a YA novel, and it's called Clown in a Cornfield. And it's actually been getting a lot of raves, actually. I've seen it all over Twitter and stuff. A lot of people are talking about how they're reading it. So I read it this past week. I finished it. And it's really cool. And especially with we're getting closer to like Halloween and fall and all that kind of fun stuff. This is a really nice read. Like I said, it's YA. I would say it's probably on the older age range of that. Like, I don't know that I would be telling like an 11 or 12-year-old to read this book, but maybe like a 15, 16-year-old. Because it's a little gory. I would say more so than some stuff. And then it's called Clown in a Cornfield. So I don't really want to talk about too much about the plot because I think that gives too much away. I would say the closest it could be compared to would be a slasher film or whatever. But it definitely goes in really interesting directions. It doesn't it's not just your traditional version of that type of story. But it's really good. He's a great writer. I'm just really excited that he got this deal with Harper. It sounds like he's going to be publishing at least 2 or 3 more novels with them, which is really cool. He seems like a really good guy too. I first heard about him because our friends at Modern Horrors interviewed him a few years ago. And that's how I found out about him, read a few of his books and really liked him. So it's called Clown in a Cornfield. I think you can pick it up just about anywhere. I saw people on Twitter were talking about how they got it at Target. So I think that means it's probably available at all your bookstores, Amazon, wherever you get your books. You should be able to find it. And if you like it, definitely check out some of his earlier stuff. His earlier stuff is very much adult, but if you're an adult reading this, I highly recommend that. So there you go.
Very nice. What was the book called again?
Clown in a Cornfield.
Clown in a Cornfield.
And there is a clown, and it is creepy.
And it is in a cornfield.
Great. So if you love clowns and corn, great. If you hate them, don't.
If your major interests in life are clowns and corn, have we got a book for you?
It's like Clowns of the Corn, like Children of the Corn.
Yes, exactly. That's going to wrap it up for Behind the Scenes this week. Don't forget to make sure you're subscribed. Go ahead and leave a comment or rating as well. You can hang out with us on Twitter. I'm at Aaron Dicer. She is at Danae Says.
DENEESAYS.
And he is at Sam Loomis 13. And if you'd like to send us anything by snail mail, you can email us. You can email us your snail mail.
Take a picture of your letter
at
Behind the Sins, P.O. Box 881, Republic, Missouri 65738.
So for Jonathan Watkins, Danae Hughes, and myself, we'll see you next week.
Thanks for listening. Send any feedback to bts@cinemasins.com. And be sure to subscribe, rate, and comment. Find more ways to connect by visiting cinemasins.com/BTS.
Oh my goodness, we had a plumbing thing, and
Oh,
so
no.
that,
Yeah, how did that?
What happened?
I think we're
come
finally
out?
through. They had to go like 70 feet, I think, to get to
What
it.
was it?
Who knows? Who knows?
Was this that thing with the shower downstairs that your wife tried to fix?
Oh no,
Yeah,
no.
is it related? Is it related? Okay.
No,
this
none
was
of
their
that's-
See, I
sink.
do listen, by the way, because that was months ago when you told us that story.
No, it's just one of those things where our sink has been having intermittent problems, and it was also one of those things where they're like, "Yeah, sure, we'll come out and fix it," and they had just come out a couple months ago, and for the same problem, and the guy who came out only had like a 25-foot, auger, but it kind of cleared enough that the water would drain. And so he's like, fixed it. And then they came back and it's like, yeah, we need to go out further. And so they went out 75 feet. And now you can like fill both sinks, pull the plugs, and they both got those beautiful aqua tornadoes that happen,
Yeah.
like you got to love the water tornadoes.
Yeah.
And so I think it's truly fixed now. But then they were like, okay, so that'll be another, $150 for the work and, $80 for coming out. And it's like, no, you're going to actually fix what you said you fixed the first time. So it was one of those things where I had to be that guy where it was like, and I wasn't a jerk about it. I don't think I was a jerk about it. I was like, ask anybody on the trail. I'm really nice about this. But my bike, all of a sudden, which I've been riding for my exercise around trails with very polite people.
Yeah.
One of the tires went flat.
Yeah, that's karma for you being a dick.
That's right. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. I'm surprised at how much I love riding my bike. Like I go for 10 to 12 mile rides, and it's just great. I just go out for an hour.
Friends. Well, you're my friend, but I have other friends that love it too.
I have actual friends who ride bikes too, Aaron.
I actually had one of my wife's best friends, but she had this horrible accident that even as a guy, I was just like, oh my God, where they not accident, like she just I don't know what exactly happened, but she basically came off her seat and just slammed into the bar, like whatever you call that, like the middle bar on the bike, and cut up her hoo-ha. And and apparently if you get a cut there, that it's kind of like your tongue or something, like it doesn't heal quickly.
Yeah,
that kind of turned me off of bikes too.
My mom once took our dog when I was little on a walk where she was on the bike and the dog was on a leash. For whatever reason, she just was like, oh, I'll just do both at the same time. And the dog took off running and so pulled her down onto that bar.
Oh.
So she was in pain for a few days.
Yeah, because like even like as a guy, like I can just imagine if that happened to me, it's a different set of things.
Anatomy. It's not that it's not painful. It's I mean, we have very sensitive parts as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and I'm talking more about the way it heals is similar to, like you said, a mouth or an orifice or something where it's just.
Can we stop thinking about that area as a mouth? It's a visual.
Sorry, I didn't know what else to compare.
I just don't like it.
So, Danae, I know we're talking sports, but just to, there's this incredible basketball series going on right now with the Boston Celtics and the Miami Heat. And have you watched both of those games so far, Jonathan, or either of them?
Yeah, I'm a Heat. The Heat's my team.
Yeah,
so,
yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
And just to kind of put it in your world, Danae, basically the Miami Heat has rolled a 20 at the end of both games.
So that's exciting.
I'm loving it. I want him to play basketball in the bubble forever. I think it's amazing. I'm not kidding. I think it's great. Again, my only complaint: kill the crowd, kill the fake crowd noise. I want to hear the game.
Well, I will say that when I said they're my team, they are. I mean, that's who I've been watching for the last few years. They're basically my wife's team. I mean, she's a Florida person. I've never had an NBA team. So my dad watched Knicks games. I watched the Knicks, but you don't want to be a Knicks fan for very long.
I mean, I am through and through a Pistons guy.
So you're from there, so yeah, that makes sense.
As a Pistons guy, you kind of have to have other rooting interests just to keep your interest in the sport. Because if it's not the late '80s, early '90s, or 2004, then there's not much going on.
You won in 2004, right? You beat the Lakers.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did. That was
a fun series.
Oh man, that was a blast.
You destroyed them too, right? It was like 5 games or something.
We swept them in 5 games, basically.
Who was on that team?
Tayshaun Prince, Richard Hamilton, Rip Hamilton, Chauncey Billups, Ben Wallace, Rasheed Wallace.
Man. I love Chauncey.
Yeah, it was a great team, man. And it was a team. Like, it was that was the cool thing, was like, it is probably the greatest team to ever win the finals without a superstar. You know what I mean? Like, there's nobody on that team you're going to go, oh yeah, first ballot, top 10 NBA player, Hall of Famer kind of thing.
Hey, it might happen again this year.
Right?
I mean, I get Jimmy. I mean, I think Butler is I don't know that Butler's I don't think Butler right now would be Hall of Fame though. He might get there.
So you can't see this listening to the podcast, but Danae has fallen asleep. She's actually curled up on the floor now.
Yeah, sorry, Danae.
She took her headphones off, and she is now sleeping on the floor. So
that's not true, but I did literally leave the room for a little while.
Yeah, but you do that every week.
I am returning to my Dungeons and Dragons game last night to make sure that I write down my notes so I can remember things that I need to remember that happened.
Nice.
Yeah.
I hear you.
Because right now we're playing D&D on Thursday nights, and so by the time it's Friday morning, I just I'm hours away from having had a really fun session.
Right.
And so I wake up in the morning and it's just like the first thing on my mind is going, okay, so this is what happened at the start of the next session. What are the things I have to think about to both prepare for whatever could happen in the next session, but also know how any of the characters that I'm responsible for, which is everybody but the 3 that are playing, what are they doing? How are they responding to whatever's happened in this scenario?
They might be watching the Heat Celtics series because it's really exciting. Yeah,
it could. Yesterday, they discovered a few things. They opened a lockbox. They found a map and a key and just some clues to things. They don't even know what it's about yet. So,
but you do because you're the DM.
Yeah, I really do. And what's really funny is when I won't talk about this for much longer, but just for you guys, it's just fun.
We talked about sports for 10 minutes. Go for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but I was ignoring you, and now I'm asking you to listen to me. I guess I could just be talking to myself. It's super okay. Basically, right at the very beginning of the session last night, it was a race against time rescue mission. So it was really fast paced and heart pounding, where we have an order of who goes in what order whenever you go into like a combat scenario. And literally on the list, it's like the fire had a turn where I had to decide how far the fire was spreading and if it was getting closer to them or if the smoke was going to be smoking them out of certain areas. There were spiders going, there were rats going, there was a couple Pied Pipers going, like there was all this stuff that was happening. And the spiders, rats, and Pied Pipers, they didn't even know that they were there. They were on a completely different map. But if they had gone that direction, I needed to know what was happening in that room too. Mm-hmm. And that's the fun part. Like they didn't even get, back in that area. And they shouldn't have, because that would have not been good. They would have died. So
you've talked about doing one-offs. But one shots, I think you call them.
Yep.
Where people just do a one shot story kind of thing. Do you also do like one shot characters where like a character could, be written in for a night or something like that? Okay.
Yeah.
I just, might be.
Are you want to play?
Hey, listen, I'm just saying, I know it's something you've asked me to do before.
Oh my gosh.
And I didn't know if I could commit to like an every, week, month, kind of character, but like if you can like write a character in, because the only real experience I have with this is what is the show that Dan Harmon did?
Harmon Quest?
Harmon Quest. Yeah, his name's right in the title. Good job, Aaron. The Harmon Quest thing. I watched all the seasons of Harmon Quest, and that's kind of what they did, is they'd have a guest, come in. So I can be your guest celebrity. What is the name for character superpowers in Dungeons and Dragons? Like, is there a name for like those characteristics?
Like magic?
Like no, like where you have like something you're really good at, or like
abilities.
Like abilities, or do like characters have different abilities?
Mm-hmm.
Can one of my abilities be like, like a +10 in apologizing?
Yeah.
Punning.
Yeah, that would be like persuasion.
+20 in pun. Pun construction.
Yeah. So I was listening to last week's episode, right? And I don't I went into the bedroom and I was like, I just sat down on the bed and I propped myself up with some pillows. And it was a little dark in there, but I was like, I'll just sit down for a second. And I started to listen to the show, and I listened to about 25 minutes or so. And the next thing I know, my husband's waking me up at like 6 o'clock.
That's a really a great recommendation for Behind the Sins podcast.
Will put you to sleep.
Will put you to sleep. I got to tell you, I just did something that is one of those digital technology world kind of things. I am so used to working on a laptop with a touchpad that I'm sitting in front of a computer monitor on boxes. I just took my index finger and tried to move the mouse on this box. There is nothing on this box. I just tried to control my mouse on the screen by touching a cardboard box that my monitor is sitting on.
Some nights, like especially if I'm tired and I'm reading a regular book, like not a digital book, I'll still put my finger up to the page and like swipe.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, or tap it and hope it turns the page.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh my god, this is like a piece of paper.
My turn. I tried to pinch zoom a photo.
It's the best. It's such a mind thing where it's just like, why did you do that?
I was literally holding a photo frame, looking at a picture, and I'm like, oh, I want to. And in my mind, it was like, I want to
zoom in,
enhance this part of what I'm looking at, and so I touched the glass and just zoomed, and then I was like, what am I doing? Like, I have to get it closer to my eyes.
How do I do this? I forget how to do this in real life.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
What's that?
Can you hear me? Sorry.
It's the musical version of the Verizon ad, apparently.